I'm getting down to the finishing details of this piece, and I wanted to show you how I sort of embellish and also hide sections that I don't like using some flowers. And these are just grayscaled flowers that I put together on my computer and printed out. And they're pretty faint. They just give me enough information so that after I glaze over the top of them with a color, I can paint in the flower details. So I cut some out and I have them here on my piece where sort of where I want them. I'm just going to arrange these. So I have separate leaves too. Because flowers without leaves really very often don't look convincing. So I have some rose leaves to go with my rose blooms. And now that I have them positioned sort of where I want them, oh, I wanted to show you why I put them up here. And that is, really don't like this section of her hair. I know what's supposed to be going on here. She should have has it tucked this way, and then the curls come down this way. But I don't think I did a great job of painting that. So I'm covering up the top of her hair with roses. And also her cleavage is pretty deep. And I don't know. I just think she needs something else down here. And it also helps balance out the roses that are going to go around her head, because these alone sort of look like I slapped a bunch of roses on there, but these with these down here I think sort of balances out and gives them a reason for being there. So and you can see that now I've removed all of these. The placement really isn't a big deal. You know, I'm just sort of positioning them where I want to cover up some sins and using a little matte medium to hold them in place. But doesn't have to be perfect placement. And while this is damp, I can add a leaf. Whoops. But only if I can get it to sit still. I sort of want a leaf down here too. And you'll notice that my roses, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but the roses are sort of directional. So this one is facing this way, and this one is sort of facing the opposite direction. And then there's one right here that's straight on. I always try to look for flowers that are pointed in different directions, because I think it makes it look a little more realistic. This one just isn't doing it for me. Yeah, that way. And maybe another leaf. I try to position things so that, I don't know, like leaves aren't hanging down onto her face, because they look kind of strange when that happens. Now I'm just going to put down the bottom ones. Now I'll let these dry and then come back and do a little glazing and some painting. So I have this fairy with her flowers attached, and I went ahead and did a little shading around the outer edges with some charcoal and then sealed it all and let it set. And while I was doing that, I also did the other two fairies So they're about halfway with their flowers. This one has flowers in her hair that have the first coat of glaze on them, and she's holding flowers to cover up a hand that used to be holding a purse. And also the leaf is sort of covering this hand, which I just didn't feel it was very graceful looking, so it's sort of half covered by a leaf, and that will help it look better. But these flowers all have their first coat of glaze on them, and the leaves have the first coat of glaze on them. And then same deal with this girl. She has flowers. She's holding a flower that I added a stem to, and I think the stem might be too wide, but oh well. And then she has the first coat of glaze on the flowers in her hair. This one just has a little bit of green along the edge. So let me do the glaze for these flowers and show you how it works. The first thing I'm going to do is just add in a base coat for the flowers, for the flower color, and I'm going to do it for this one in yellow, if there's any paint in this left. I'm getting kind of low on my favorite yellow. Oh, there's a little bit. So a little bit of paint, a little bit of matte medium. I'm going to slide this out of the frame so you can see what I'm doing. So that white plate makes the light go wonky. So I'm just mixing about 50-50 glaze and paint. You can kind of eyeball it. And with this yellow, it's really pale, so you can see right through it. And that's good because I want the shadows from the printout of the grayscale roses to show through. But with all colors, I sort of paint circularly so that if there are streaks, the streaks are circular, just like the rose. And now I'm going to base coat the leaves with a little bit of green and a little bit of matte medium. So now that I've got all this painted, I'm just going to let it sit and dry for a few minutes, and then I'll come back in and add some details. So here I have the pink fairy with her roses almost finished, and the blue fairy with roses that are way too pink. So I'm going to show you how to fix that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about how I'm getting the detail on there. And this is one way to do it, watercolor pencils. Another way to do it is with a really fine brush and some paint, but I find this much easier and, I don't know, less stressful than a brush, I guess. So I'm basically just dipping the tip of my pencil into water and then following the contours of the rose petals, again using that circular motion that I used when I was applying paint. And I am sort of following what I can see in terms of the petals from the original drawing, but sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm adding in some stuff. At a certain point, you just have to go with what you think a rose looks like instead of exactly what that rose looked like in the original drawing. So just adding in some color along the edges. I like to outline the edges, but you can also do this with shadows. Get a darker pencil and draw in shadows. It doesn't matter. I'm just blending in some other color. And my original flower was yellow, but this is kind of a yellow-orange. And I also have lurking in my other hand a red-orange pencil, which I'm going to get to in a minute. I'm going to use this one a little less. And I'm sort of aiming it in the places where the rose is a little bit darker. What I'm hoping for is a rose that starts out kind of darker in the center and ends up pale on the edges. That's my goal. Sometimes I don't get there. Okay. I would usually go ahead and do the roses down below, but since I'm filming this, I'll keep moving so that you can see what's going on here. So now I have a little bit of just plain matte medium. And these are watercolor pencils. So I can just very lightly brush over the pencil, and I'm trying not to brush over the same place more than once or twice. Just enough to activate it and blend it so it's not lines anymore, it's sort of streaks of color, if that makes sense. And a lot of movement in the center where there are more petals and there would be more color, and then very little around the outside, just where I want to add some color to the roses. Just add a little bit of color. And if I feel like I have too much, I can kind of scrub at it and lift it away. And if there's not enough, I can let this dry and then come back and do another layer. Okay, so let's try that again with these down here. And I'm also going to do a little bit of work on the leaves. It's a little clunky. I'm drawing in veins, and this really should be sharper, but oh well. I'm not real worried about this because I can go back and fix this with a Sharpie later. So now, do my roses with a little matte medium. I'm purposely not touching some areas so that it remains the original yellow. Just like the roses in my front yard do. Some petals are really pale yellow and others are just very bright orange. This one has maybe a little bit too much red on it. That's okay. There. Wash out the brush. So now you can see that the roses up on top have sort of dried already, and they look pretty good. But if I wanted to, I could come back and hit a couple more places with another color or a darker color. And because this has been painted down with matte medium, it's safe to work over the top of it. So, and now I'm just doing a little bit of brushwork on the leaves, kind of obliterating my clunky drawings so that it just looks like some directional stuff on the leaf. It doesn't have to, I don't have to draw in every single vein on this. In fact, I really don't want to draw in every single vein on the leaf. I just want to give an impression that it's not a flat green piece. That's all it really needs. Oops, not water, matte medium, not water. Okay. So, this girl over here who has the roses that are way too pink, I think I'm going to knock them back with a little bit of purple, if I can. See if I can get some purple wash going with a little bit of matte medium and a little bit of purple paint. Just going to knock this back down so that it's not quite so pink. Here, it's a little better. I'm going to come back and do a little purple pencil on top of this, because now it looks a little flat. But if you run into this problem where you paint a rose and it's totally the wrong color, you can come back with paint and paint over the top of it and then do a little more pencil work and fix it.